Today's a really special day because I get to have on Craig, who is the head of community relations for CoinDesk.
I'm CraigO, and join me on my adventures with CraigO's cryptocurrency as we cover the blockchain, Web3, NFT, and cryptocurrency technologies. Interviewing the best in the industry, giving tips and tricks, and also sharing with you projects that I'm most excited about.
You're watching CraigO's Crypto Corner, the best in Web3, blockchain, NFT, and cryptocurrency technology. Great reviews, incredible interviews with some of the leading people in the Web3 ethos, and just the general things Web3 related. Today's a really special day because I get to have on Craig, who is the head of community relations for CoinDesk. How are you, Casey?
Good, how are you, Craig? Thanks
Community
for having
relation,
me.
global community management, you handle it all.
Yeah, all the communications at a news organization,
Global
which is
communications.
interesting.
Global head of communications, we've got it.
Yeah.
So I want to start off with you. What does a career look like being a journalist in crypto in the Web3 space right now?
It's super exciting. I mean, I think the biggest difference between a career in crypto journalism versus pursuing one at the traditional news outlets or covering other markets is that it doesn't matter how many years that you've been covering the space, you can gain so much experience in a short amount of time, and you can really accelerate your career. I mean, Danny Nelson is our deputy business editor, he's 26. Our leading NFT journalist, Eli Tan, is 22. We hired him last year when he had just graduated from college. He's going to Columbia in the fall. And then so many of our journalists are under 30, yet they are considered the leading experts on that, whatever beat that they cover. And they regularly go on television.
They break that news source because they're focused on a specific beat, right?
Exactly.
So there's something specific in crypto. I do want to talk about Danny Nelson, right? I want to talk about the story that he broke along with Tracy Wang on the Solana issue. Let's talk a little bit about that.
It was a great story. I mean, that was a fantastic piece. We broke that last Thursday. And I remember I got to actually see the draft before it went out because it was one of those pieces that we knew would alter the news cycle. Danny's broken several pieces that have changed, the market. They've changed. Everybody else from Bloomberg to the Wall Street Journal has followed suit after he broke the story. Another good one was JP Morgan, but that piece specifically was really interesting because we don't always choose to reveal the identities of these not bad players, but really anyone in crypto, just because can be so compromising to them. But we did decide with that specific story, because they were manipulating the blockchain, that we should release their identities. And I think that was really interesting about that piece. We don't always do that.
They had a liquidity pool exchange. And so basically their total value locked was exceeding that of the market cap. So from somebody looking from a metric standpoint, they're like, oh, this is healthy. And Solana, I believe at the height of the market in November, and please don't quote me, the height of the market, I think it was around $250 for Solana. And now maybe $40 to $50, maybe even below that.
Ouch.
Ouch. That stings. But I do think Solana is great. I mean, they're integrating their first phone with their hot wallet.
Yeah.
They're going to have it built in. The question I have is, when will that maybe be hacked, to be facetious? But the interesting thing with that story is you guys were able to, or they were able to have and obviously you have to verify these stories before they go out. You're the one that verifies it.
Absolutely.
And so there was part of that story that I thought was interesting. One of the brothers had created a tweet, but didn't send it out. So there were two brothers that created this puffing, puffing mechanism where they looked like they had 11 developers.
Yes.
But when in two, it was just the brothers.
Yeah.
And it seemed like one had more of a conscience. One of the brothers was at a break and was just like doing this tweet, kind of putting out what he did. Someone got a hold of that. Just because you don't post it doesn't mean that you can't.
The drafts are saved. Yeah.
Interesting. So that's how that happened in part, and someone was able to obtain that. And of course, you don't give up the source due to safety. So what are some of the other stories that really captivated you right now that have come out in the past few weeks?
Great question. I think I might have to read and come back to this.
That's okay. We're good. I would say for me that was the number one story.
Yeah, because that's the biggest one that's sticking out in my mind.
But I also would throw to you, one of the things that I like about your platform is that there's a learning program.
Yeah.
So I went through A through Z to see what I know. So A is for airdrop, which for me is nothing more than sort of a marketing ploy. But let's talk a little bit about cryptocurrencies, right? So you've got your top 10 coins, and we talked a little bit about CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap. Just that's where the data is, and you said to me that feels more like a blog site. Tell me what your thought is when you look at the different charts, and then when you've got your journalists reporting on different news stories. What is the criteria to go report on a story?
It's a great question. I mean, so we have so many different verticals at CoinDesk. We have market side, we have these in-depth features with layer 2, we have the learn that you were talking about, we have policy. So we do try to make all of our news stories breaking unless they are the features. Our editor-in-chief, Kevin Reynolds, is from Bloomberg. He created the breaking news desk at Bloomberg. He was there for 20 years. So when you read a lot of our stories, like, we are leading the news cycle. And the way we write them too, it's super concise, it's straight to the point. I think that's why we have such a great reputation too, is there's not a lot of fluff in our pieces. I mean, they get straight to the facts. Yeah. I think, not just saying this because I work there, but we are probably the most well-informed journalist, editorial team in the space by far.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think that's to the credit of CoinDesk, because how I learned about you guys is I literally would set up a Google Alerts. So every morning I put my news and I'll click on that link. And that's, by the way, that's good for you guys to think about, like, when you're looking to catch news, just set up your Google Alerts. And whenever I do that, any crypto story, that's first and foremost, it's CoinDesk.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, it's pretty astounding.
How do you think people are positioning themselves right now in this bear market?
I mean, I think it depends from the institutional side, from the retail investor side.
Say a personal side. Like, I think people who are tuning into my channel, I hope that they're wanting to learn and grow. But say from a personal end, like, what are your thoughts on, obviously, due diligence? Like, where would you tell people, aside from CoinDesk, right, and or on CoinDesk, what do you think are the first things that somebody who's newer to the space should be thinking to learn in the way of process before getting involved?
Great question. I mean, I always say read. I mean, it's the same way whenever you're researching something, read it from multiple sources. Like, you know, anything from MIT Tech Review, anything written on, like, policy, our news site, other news sites. I wouldn't say taking anything from Reddit to Twitter as, you know, gospel or news exactly, but it is kind of interesting. You can see some murmurs that could actually lead to a news story later. Yeah. You know, once it's verified. But I would say before making any purchase in crypto or NFTs, just read a lot. Read a lot from multiple sources, listen to interviews, so you have as much education as possible before you make that decision, even if it's $5. I think that's the biggest gap in our space, is that crypto literacy is a little bit behind. Like, even financial literacy, it's still not, like, up to speed, and crypto literacy is even further behind. So I always suggest reading.
Yeah, crypto, well, that's the other thing, is that it was talking about educational programs around Web3 are going to be one of the biggest money generators over the next 5 years.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because like I was saying, even crypto journalism, you can accelerate your career. You can gain so much. You can build a public profile so much faster, build a personal brand. But that's across all of the job roles in crypto. I mean, crypto hiring, there's a little bit of a freeze because we're in a bear market. But usually when, you know, Bitcoin goes back up and the market kind of stabilizes, I mean, crypto just, it's scaling at such a rate that any role where the whole industry is always looking.
All right, no shill. five cryptos that you like and why. And maybe you just give me 3, but cryptos that really catch your attention for the long term. I go diamond mine, diamond hand. Yeah. What are those to you, in your opinion?
Okay, I think Dash, super underrated. Dash, Cardano is super important, and Ethereum. I'm just going to stick it with those 3 because I don't think I even like 5 in total, to be honest. But no, Ethereum, always buy Ethereum. You know why? It's fastest. You can buy things with it. I think people forget that. Like, I'd always say stack up on Ethereum. I think Bitcoin is going to become obsolete. I know that's not a popular opinion, but it will at one point.
Do you think it'll still be like kind of like that gold bar that you have and there's a rarity to it?
Yeah. Okay. I think it's better as a store of value than as a form of payment. The blockchain is so slow. I mean, think of how many times Bitcoin has forked and it still can't scale and it's not fast enough to buy everyday things with. That is the definition of a store of value, not a form of payment. And we have September 17th. We're going proof of stake from proof of work with Ethereum. Yeah, merge party. I'm really excited. And actually, I called out a crypto last year, and it didn't have the show last year. This show is 5 months in. Yeah. But I called out ZK rollups. And guess what? They're figuring out how to batch up, 60 million transactions in one. Yeah. That to me is really exciting. That to me says the scalability is there. So if you have higher transactions and lower costs, I mean, last year when we were in 2021, it was all predicated on
you were on the Ethereum blockchain, you go onto OpenSea, because I love NFTs. I love what the community of peer-to-peer, and I want to talk a little bit about NFTs with you. And I know that you have to be very careful because being in your position, you can't, there's only but so much you can invest and how you can go about those things because you have to stay ethical to the boundaries of CoinDesk. But in that being said, it was on average, you could spend $50 to $250 in gas fees.
I know.
When OpenSea Deeds came out, which is part of the Bored Ape Yacht Club, when that launched, it was, I think, 2.5 ETH to buy the item, but it was 13 ETH in gas fee.
Isn't that crazy? So that's something I remember, like a lot of people when they evangelize crypto, they say, you don't have to pay banking fees, you avoid all these like overhead costs. But that's actually not true with gas fees. That's why it's so frustrating. So I hope with this merge, the gas fees will go way down. But you have such a great point. Some people were buying NFTs and they were spending more on the gas fees than the actual value of the NFT itself.
And you've got Magic Eden, which is the marketplace for Solana. Solana is, I believe it's ranked top 9 coin. It's in the top 10. And to me, I think Solana, Elrond ecosystem, I'm not sure if you know about Elrond. It's another blockchain. They're carbon negative blockchain. They do 200,000 transactions per second, so it's fractions of a penny to do a transaction. But there's smaller people on that blockchain. So first to the market was Ethereum. Do you remember in 2017 when it was Coinbase? They had three coins. Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Litecoin.
And I think it was better
Litecoin hasn't done anything, though.
No, it hasn't done anything. But I mean, honestly, I think one of the biggest problems in this space, and I'm glad we're in a winter and a bear market right now, it's kind of we're trimming the fat. In 2017, I don't know if you remember the amount of ICOs. Some of them were absurd. There was like the Ice-T ICO. It was so unnecessary. It's what gives this industry a bad reputation is because it's so overhyped, it's so inflated, there's so many unnecessary use cases of crypto and blockchain. So I'm really glad we're in a winner. I mean, NFTs were really fun last year. It was the first time we actually entered mainstream awareness, mainstream like consumer interest. However, there were so many unnecessary NFTs that didn't really have any intrinsic value, yet people were pumping so much ETH into them.
What do you think of stablecoins?
I mean, I think stablecoins are great. I think they need to be developed more. But that's a practical use case. That's a great use case of crypto. And it has longevity.
The problem that I found is, so with Voyager and with Celsius when they stop withdrawals, right? These are centralized platforms.
Celsius is brutal. We broke that story.
Well, okay, so tell me about that.
I think that was Danny that broke that story.
I believe you're right.
And that was awful timing for us because we had our festival Consensus in Austin. So we're coming back from Consensus, we're riding the high of like 20,000 people coming out, and then the Celsius story broke. And then the whole market kind of crashed from that. So.
Well, the worst part about it was that the founder or the CEO
Alex?
of the company, I think he had the HODL button, HODL. So that's in short for hold. It's hold it, and if you hold it, we can then open the withdrawals. Well, obviously, if we hold it, you don't need withdrawal. And I thought that was really interesting because everybody was trying to figure out last minute things. And then there was this last interview by Steve Ulrich, who's the CEO of Voyager. And right now, as we speak, Mark Cuban, I think, is getting sued for $5 billion. So his Mavericks, they were basically Voyager this, Voyager, they had the banners. And I like Mark, but he was sold on Steve, I was sold on Steve. And it brings me to that next point is that you can have a founder of creator of a crypto, of a centralized platform, of a marketplace, of an NFT. You can have all of these different people that you believe in, but if you don't believe in the functionality of copywriting and intellectual property and this long-term 5 to 10 year boring vision, if you're not focused on the boringness, you really shouldn't be in this space.
I love that. I love that you said that.
You know, that's the thought. And so CoinDesk, you guys are out of New York City. Travel all over. Tell me, how do you guys plan for these events, right? Because you're going out, your journalists are going out, they're hitting their specific beats. What does that look like when you're going out to these events, and how are you guys looking to, because you are can I say you're like the Bloomberg of crypto? Is that fair?
Our business model is modeled after them. It's no secret.
Okay.
Actually, a lot of our journalists, especially the recent hires, are from Bloomberg. On purpose. I know Nick Baker just came over. He's going to be our deputy editor-in-chief right under Kevin. Kevin's from Bloomberg. I mean, I think it's a big chunk. No secret, because Bloomberg has a news platform like we do. They have events like we do, and then they have the indices. Bloomberg, not Bloomberg Terminal, but all of their indices, like we have the same thing, but for crypto. Like our XBX, our Bitcoin index, is one of the longest running Bitcoin.
And for those that don't know, XDX is?
XBX is just our Bitcoin index, but it's one of the longest and most globally referenced sources for Bitcoin price.
Got it.
I think it's updated like every millisecond. It's aggregated from multiple exchanges, but it's used across institutional investors, but it's also what the Dow Jones uses when they reference crypto.
So what are your thoughts on Coinbase? Right. So Coinbase had two pieces of news.
Yeah.
One is the bad, right? The SEC was coming after them for 9 of their cryptocurrencies being in violation. It's like, what did you guys expect? And by the way, they're a public company. That didn't go so well when they went public. I had half my friends being like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, get Coinbase. And I'm like, just wait. There's so many uncertainties. And that's why I was kind of focused on the NFT communities like Knights of Degen, on-chain monkeys that we're building. And of course, I can't afford a Bored Ape. I'm not going to go and buy a Bored Ape or a CryptoPunk. That's great if you can spend your money there. Maybe now is a good time. I don't know. And then you had, with Coinbase, you had on the side of positive was BlackRock with 200 institutional investors.
Yeah, so Brandy, that's, I don't know if she broke that. Yeah, I think she did break that story.
I think you're right on that.
Not just at CoinDesk, but I think we were the first ones to publish. And I think that's such a great, that's a great indication of where the space is going. And what I wondered is when BlackRock said that they were going to offer Coinbase on Aladdin, which is, I think, 200 institutional investors have used that platform. It showed that just because we're in a winter or the market down doesn't mean that crypto's going anywhere. You have 200 institutional investors that they're believing in crypto, they're using Coinbase, and Coinbase's stock went up after it. But I kind of wondered if, I know BlackRock's been involved in Bitcoin crypto for a while behind the scenes. I wonder if they waited for Bitcoin to go down and then kind of say that they were going to invest in it, because I think, like I said, it just shows that we're trimming the fat, we're not inflated anymore.
Am I correct? Michael Saylor, I think he's the owner of 3 Arrows Capital, so he's one of the biggest Bitcoin people in the space.
Yeah.
Very bullish, but I guess there was almost a short on a margin call where he was going to owe a lot of money, and he's like sticking by his thing saying Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin.
Yeah, we call them maxis, Bitcoin maxis.
Bitcoin maximalists, yes. I think it's great. And so 2 coins that I hadn't really thought about, Cardano.
Yeah.
Last year I would hear, oh, Cardano this, Cardano that, but you're the second notable person in my world to say, look back at that again, so Cardano, and then Dash. What do you know about Dash? Tell me a little bit about Dash.
So, to be frank, Dash used to be a client of mine, but Dash is super fast, and it's also, what I like about it, the founder, Ryan, I think he comes from, it's BlackRock or another traditional finance, but the way he approaches Dash and the way that they're building out the cryptocurrency and platform is that he knows how to scale. They invest in regulation, they keep everything, they're not looking to make a ton of money, they're looking to build a really solid cryptocurrency that can be used as a source of payment, not a source of a store of value. Yeah. So I've always liked Dash. And then Cardano has an interesting story. So Charles Hoskinson was one of the co-founders of Ethereum. So that's what's interesting about Cardano.
With Vitalik, yeah. I think that's really cool, and because they're going to proof of stake, that's even more amazing just to see how that blockchain will continue to develop. Yeah. They've needed that, because a lot of people are like, we're sticking with you, but then there are all these other good blockchains. There are about 35 to 40 notable blockchains out there. Yeah. And then there are these privatized blockchains. I don't know if you guys know about them. They're corporate blockchains where people have access for the business information. So store of money, house of value. And so those are private, where I'm like, interesting. Hopefully those never get hacked.
Yeah, and you never, the hacking's interesting. You know what I think is just from the news side too, is I'm sure that government entities, information online, people's personal banking, that's hacked too. Yeah. It's never talked about as much because blockchains are public, they're not anonymous. So everybody knows when someone else gets hacked. Yeah. You can't hide it, you can't, sweep it under the rug. So even though cryptocurrency is hacked a lot, I don't think it's any more or less than any other industry or market. I just think it's more public. The two
blockchains that are the 2 coins that represent privacy, the 2 privacy coins. Mm-hmm. Monero? Yeah. What are your thoughts? Because I don't think anything's private. I think there's an encryption process which makes it harder to track, sort of like an IP. Tell me a little bit about that, because you guys did do a story on that.
Oh, yeah. So we've heard a lot. And I'm not as much of an expert as a journalist, but we were just talking about Monero last week, because we check it out, it's coming out in a few months. We're covering a story about how OnlyFans, some of them asked to get paid in crypto and why and which ones. And some of them want to get paid in Monero because they think it can't be traced, but it's actually still public. So that's the biggest misnomer, and it's kind of, it's interesting.
It's interesting that they have a reputation for that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, what Bitcoin was used for years ago, well before.
Silk Road.
Pretty bad. And then also, I think one guy bought a pizza pie with like 10,000
Yeah, we have
Bitcoin.
National Pizza Day. So like every year that comes around, it's like the pizza would have been worth $1 million, you know, like 500 grand. I don't know the exact number, but
that's awesome.
We kind of use that as like a milestone, as this is how much Bitcoin is worth now from when he bought the pizza.
What are your thoughts right now in this bear market for those that were in the quote unquote bull, right? I don't think we've really experienced the bull of bulls. I mean, there were a lot of Shiba Inu guys around the Thanksgiving table. Look at my wallet, it's worth this. And it's like, don't do that. You're asking for trouble. Yeah. But what do you think in this next bull run, what do you think it's going to be predicated on from your end, whether it's cryptos or NFTs?
I think it's going to be cryptos, and you know why? I think like Coinbase and BlackRock News was a great example. I think institutional investors, they've always been in the space. They're going full in right now. They're going full in. I know at CoinDesk, for instance, we're kind of pivoting our audience. You know, we're trying to be a household brand name, and we were targeting consumers last year. We've completely shifted to TradFi. Like I said, they are using this winter and downtime. Everyone's developing.
You said TradFi?
Yeah, traditional finance.
Okay, got it. Got it. Okay.
TradFi, yeah.
Got it.
But yeah, I think like we are seeing institutional investors rush in, fully embrace it. And I think that's another indicator that, you know, crypto's not going anywhere. It's just going to evolve. Yeah. We're not going to see the crazy, like, NFT NYC is a great, you know, week, but like it's going to change. Like crypto's going to become less of a phenomenon and more of either uses like everyday payments, or it might even become kind of boring, which isn't a bad thing. It's going to get regulated, which is good, and it's going to be predominantly used by institutional investors.
Do you think with so I went to NFT NYC, and so it's NFT NYC. Why isn't it just Web3 NYC? Why
Great
isn't
example. We should recommend that to them.
Yeah, like just Web3 Web3 NFT. I mean, Web3 NYC. Why is it not that? Because cryptos are just as much a part of the ethos as NFTs, and NFTs are just the same. I think for a couple reasons. A is you can't market crypto the way you can market NFTs. Like you put a Bored Ape or an on-chain monkey or whatever community, Knights of Degen, and you've got this football team. Yeah. I think it kind of it's sort of like anti-establishment. The other thing I was going to say to you is, it's interesting how with BlackRock they have these institutional investors, 200 of them. How many local financial investors I know, financial advisors that I know that are really kind of like, I like this. And I like what you're doing, but I can't touch that because that's my career. And they're focused on SEPs and Roth IRAs and making sure you have life insurance policies and different funds. But I think it's definitely making this space more appealing. And I think it's confusing sort of the natural, financial advisor going, this is boring. I want in. How do I get in? Yeah. Are you seeing any financial advisors that you know of privately, no names, names, having that conversation with you as a friend saying, hey, Casey, maybe this is not the career helping families with that. Maybe this is a lot more fun. Do you see any of that happening behind the scenes?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, personally, I think someone from Wells Fargo reached out. I ran into someone in a bar once, and they were telling me how they've shifted to advise some of their either high net worth individuals, family offices to buy crypto. Yep. Now I'm sure they're telling everyone to buy it because it's such a great bargain. Yeah. They know it's going to come back up. They know it's a good investment. I can't say for certain, but I do know that they're getting more interested in it, and I'm sure they're advising it more than they did before.
Absolutely, or go look at that. I can't tell you what to do, but hey, here's what some of my friends have done. Yeah. So, with CoinDesk, what is the most important thing when someone's new coming onto the platform that they should go right to?
I mean, homepage. But Warren, I love that you said that. I think, our news, we try to dilute it so any audience can understand the news stories. We're not trying to go over anyone's head. We're trying to report as accurately and clearly as possible. But go to Warren because there's so much about crypto that no one's a real expert. Right. I mean, nobody is. The space changes too fast and it's too new. But go to Warren, get a little bit of a background, and then go to our news site, read the stories that are breaking, go to the opinion pieces.
Love that.
Those are great, and those are in-depth features. And then go to Layer 2 is our magazine style part of and that's just really fun pieces. That's the OnlyFans piece that's coming out. We're writing a piece about sex clubs that accept crypto in New York. I mean, that's the fun stuff, so definitely read that.
And I'd also say that when you're going through CoinDesk, take your time going through it, because there's so much in there to digest. And I like the fact that there's not only the articles, but in some of those you have your journalists being interviewed.
Yeah.
So then they'll articulate that article. So if you're in the car and you don't have time to read it, you can listen to it. It's right there. It's so accessible.
Yeah, we have dozens of podcasts.
Yeah.
So go to Spotify. We have a ton of podcasts. I think our markets one is one of the top rated crypto ones. It's like 15 minutes, just like daily download.
It's easy.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the bear market. We've talked a little bit about what a career in crypto Web3 journalism looks like. We've talked a little bit about consensus and NFT NYC, and you and I both suggest to the powers that be it should be Web3 NYC, not NFT NYC. So I think you'll agree with me on that. What else can we talk about that we haven't covered?
I mean, I think the biggest takeaway for anyone listening is that just because we're in a bear market, crypto isn't going anywhere. At CoinDesk, this is our third crypto winter that we've seen. I can't say for certain, but I would predict we're going to be in this winter for 18 months. But it's not a bad sign. If anything, it's a time for everyone to take a step back, really focus on building, instead of everyone getting kind of caught in a rush of the NFT craze, certain cryptos that are kind of getting too pumped up.
And you're most excited about Dash, Cardano, and Ethereum.
Yeah, always Ethereum, always.
Well, I mean, coming from you hear this stuff every day. You're having to approve these news stories. You're traveling all over the world. It's been an honor having you on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching CraigO's Crypto Corner, the best in Web3, blockchain, NFT, and cryptocurrency technologies.